is now 6 p.m. and I would like to call the January 3rd, 2024 organizational meeting of the Hastings School Board to order. I would like to ask anyone that is able to please stand and remove your hats for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We would like to welcome our newly elected board members to the table. So welcome all of you. As you recite your oath of office, you assume a tremendous responsibility as a school board member of Independent School District 200 with the duties empowered by the Minnesota legislature. This power puts you and other members of the school board in a position of being morally and legally responsible for the quality education of every student in our district. As a board member, you serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students and our community to advocate the vision of our district. Furthermore, we must strive to work together with the superintendent and staff to lead the district towards fulfilling the vision we have created, fostering excellence for every student in the area of academic skills and knowledge, citizenship, and personal development. Having signed the acceptance and the oath of office, please raise your right hand and publicly affirm your commitment by repeating the oath of office after me. I affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state.
I affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of office of school board member of Independent School District 200.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of school board member of Independent School District 200.
To the best of my judgment and ability.
To the best of my judgment and ability.
Welcome. We will now do a roll call vote, or a roll call attendance, I'm sorry. Director Biermeyer. Director Bruns.
Here.
Director Milner.
Here.
Director Tate. Here. Director Pine.
Here.
Director Zuzik.
Here.
And no, Treasurer Jeffrey is present. At this time, I would consider a motion and a second to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Having a motion and a second on the table, is there any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? The motion to approve the agenda passes. Now I will accept a motion and a second to approve the December 20th, 2023 regular board meeting and December 20th, 2023 special board meeting.
So moved, Tate.
Second, Zuzik.
Having a motion and a second on the table, is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Let the minutes show that the motion passed unanimously. Our first actual order of business is to elect a chair. The board will now elect the officers to serve a one-year term pursuant to Minnesota Statute 123B.14. As a reminder, any member of the board may nominate another member. Nominations do not require a second, and after asking for additional nominations 3 times, the acting chair will close the nominations. I will now accept nominations for the office of chair.
Madam Chair, or Madam Acting Chair, I would nominate myself, Mark Zuzik, as a board chairperson. I've got more to say, but I wonder if you want to wait till we converse about it. Should I just say it now? So it's rare for me, but I've prepared some notes, so pardon me. I nominate myself to be the board chair. As a lifelong community member of Hastings Public Schools, I taught for 8.5 years in Hastings. During that short tenure, I received the award of Teacher of the Year. I I was a principal for 24 years in Hastings through several major changes, including making the middle school 5-8 middle school, and also moving from a 7-period day to a 6-period day. I've been through significant budget reductions. The biggest ones were $1.5 million, $1.3 million, $1.4 million successive years coming out of statutory operating debt. And one of the reasons that I think we came out of statutory operating debt is my thinking, my creativity at the middle school. I also, during that time, became Principal of the Year for the southern half of the metropolitan area. It's called the Capital Division, and I was the Principal of the Year for that group. And my proudest honor ever in my life, other than father, was becoming Employee of the Year for Independent School District 200. During that time, I gained a reputation as a principal of being aware of and tending toward climate and culture and finance and being creative. All of my education has been toward becoming a professional educator, including my master's degree in educational leadership, my license to be both a superintendent and a principal, and then I've completed the bulk of a doctorate program, and continue to consider going back to finish that up. In 2018, I moved to Intermediate School District 917, where I was the superintendent for 3 years, undergoing remarkable challenges that any superintendent in the state went through, for instance, COVID, and the budget challenges. We had a $52 million budget. We entered in the black each year that I was there. I understood at that time, and continue to understand well, the importance of knowledge and experience with both school law and school finance. If selected by the school board as the chairperson, I want to acknowledge that my first motion will be to nominate Director Dressley as vice chair. I know and I appreciate and I honor the role of the school board as being a role of governance and really staying on our side of the fence and the things that we should be doing in regard to policy and budget and finance and the things that we need to make sure that we don't get our fingers into. I've got vast experience in conflict resolution. In more than 33 years as a school leader, I've had many crises to manage and had a ton of experience in problem solving. My reputation is that of one that is a creative, big thinker, and I'm able to coalesce a lot of different ideas to bring them down to make it practical and implementable. I also know how to represent and how to meet the needs of all students, and by that I mean each and every student. I hope that with a solid leadership team, we'll continue to move forward to serve the needs of students, staff, parents, families, indeed, businesses, and the community as a whole. I lead in a manner that honors the past, accurately and understands and accepts the present, and planfully aspires to meet the needs of the future. And with that, I want you to know that I'd be excited to serve in that capacity or any other leadership role.
Thank you, Director Zuzek. Director Zuzek has been nominated. Are there any other nominations for the office of chair?
I'd like to nominate Director Tate.
Director Tate has been nominated. Are there any other nominations for the office of chair? Are there any other nominations for the office of chair? Hearing none, nominations for the office of chair are closed. In order to secure an office, a candidate must receive the majority of the votes cast. Director Zuzek, all those in favor of Director Zuzek for the office of chair, please raise your hand. those in favor of Director Tate, please raise your hand. Receiving the majority of votes cast, let the minutes show that Director Tate has been elected to the office of chair. Chair Tate, please take your chair to preside over the remainder of the meeting. You're happy about that?
Great, thank you. And the next order of business is to elect a vice chair. So I will now accept nominations for the office of vice chair.
I would like to nominate Director Dressley.
Okay. Director Dressley has been nominated. Are there any other nominations for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Director Zuzek.
All right, are there any other, excuse me, are there any other nominations for the office of vice chair? Are there any other nominations for vice chair? And are there any other nominations for vice chair? All right. If there are no further nominations, for the office of vice chair is now closed. And in the order to secure an office, the candidate must receive a majority of votes cast. All those in favor of Director Dressley for the office of vice chair, please raise your hand. All right. All those in favor of Director Zuzek for the office of vice chair, please raise your hand. All right, receiving a majority of the votes cast, let the minutes show that Director Dressley has been elected to the office of vice chair. Our next order of business is to elect a clerk, so I will now accept nominations for the office of clerk.
I would like to nominate Melissa Milner to the office of clerk.
All right. Director Milner has been nominated. Are there any other nominations for the office of clerk? Are there any other nominations for the office of clerk? Are there any other nominations for the office of clerk? All right, if there are no further nominations for the office of clerk are closed. And as Director Milner is the only candidate nominated for the office of clerk, can I see a show of hands for those in support? All right, let the minutes show that Director Milner has been elected to the office of clerk. The next order of business is to elect a treasurer. I will now accept nominations for the office of treasurer.
I would like to nominate Director Zuzek for the office of treasurer.
Director Zuzek has been nominated. Are there any other nominations for the office of treasurer? All right. Are there any other nominations for the office of treasurer? Are there any other nominations for the office of treasurer? All right. If there are no further nominations for the office of treasurer are closed, and Director Zuzek is the only candidate nominated for the office of treasurer. So can I see a show of hands for those in support? All right, let the minutes show that Director Zuzek has been elected to the office of treasurer. Can I have my computer?
Yeah.
Sorry. One more swap. All right. Next, we'd like to recognize the visitors in the room. Thank you to those of you who are attending in person, and also thank you to all of you who are attending online and watching this in the future. We appreciate your support of Hastings Schools. Next we have the items for discussion, and the first discussion is the committee membership discussion. So in the last 2 years, board members have typically emailed the chair the committees that they're interested in becoming a part of. Later this evening, we'll have a an action item to actually vote on which committees we're going to have as standing committees, so we'll have some discussion at that point. But right now, I'd like to ask that we have a brief discussion over who would potentially be interested in the committees that we already know of. Those are listed later in our action items. If you scroll down, in the list that is currently on here, we have the Policy Committee, the Community Engagement Committee, and the Student Board Member Committee. And the Student Board Member Committee is relatively new, as you know. We are just beginning this practice shortly. So if anyone is interested in being on the Policy Committee, maybe give me a show of your hands. Okay. And the next one we have is the Community Engagement Committee. Those who are interested, please raise your hands. All right. And then those who are interested in the Student School Board Member Committee, please raise your hands. Okay. And then as we're going to get into the discussion later tonight, of course, things may change depending on which committees we actually choose. All right. Also later this evening, we will have a discussion, or we'll have to vote on who becomes the liaisons to several positions. These include the ISD 917, the Minnesota State High School League, and AMSD, as well as Brightworks. So I think Director Dressley is prepared to give a brief discussion or a brief description to each of these liaison positions so that you can also advise on which of those you may be interested in. Those positions must be voted on tonight, whereas the committees, I'll take your input and we'll make that decision by, I'll say, Friday evening so that we know who's on the committees later this week. Okay. Director Dressley.
The Association of Metropolitan School Districts, the appointed liaison will attend quarterly virtual meetings and report relevant information back to the board. That's quarter, okay. Intermediate School District number 917. One board member from ISD 200 will be appointed to serve as a liaison on the board of ISD 917 for a term of 3 years. The appointed liaison will attend ISD 917 meetings one Tuesday a month from 4:45 to 6:15. We'll provide a brief ISD 917 update during the reports portion of the ISD 200 regular meeting, and will also receive additional compensation determined by the board of ISD number 917. Minnesota State High School League, the appointed liaison will vote on ISD 200's behalf when necessary. There are no additional meetings unless a vote is required. And then last, Brightworks, membership districts can participate and vote in governance of the co-op. There are no additional meetings required at this time, and there's no available spot on their board at this time. But should a spot become available, that would be an option for whoever is appointed or whoever is interested in that spot.
Thank you. May I ask who is interested in the liaison position for ISD 917? All right, Director Zuzak. Any others? Okay. Minnesota State High School League. Director Pine with a fearful look on her face. Anyone else for Minnesota State High School League interest? Okay. AMSD. Okay, Director Bruns. And anyone else interested in AMSD? All right, and Brightworks. If there becomes a position available. Right. Was that a hand raise? Okay. All right. Vice Chair Dressley. Okay. that worked out well. The next order of business the next discussion item is meetings canceled due to weather. For those of you who watched the Minnesota School Boards Association presentation, they suggested that we have a protocol in place in case a meeting were to get canceled. Per open meeting law, we have to have meetings posted with 3 days notice. So you can imagine if we have a weather event and we have to cancel, then we have to postpone it. They suggested that we could have an option in place to have the meeting automatically take place the next day as long as we set a precedent ahead of time. So at this time, I'd like to open it up for any discussion.
I would make a motion that we would set the schedule such that 24 hours after the time that the meeting would have occurred, it would occur on the next day if for any event we've had to cancel a meeting.
Any other?
I would second that motion.
Okay, are we moving this to an action item?
He motioned it.
He did motion it, that's okay.
Should we wait till it's done, or it doesn't?
Can we make it an action item right now, or do we need to move it later? Okay.
So it's a motion.
Can I ask a quick question? Is there an option to just do it remote, virtually? Like, no, okay.
No. No, because of open meeting law, you have to have the location of the meeting posted 3 days in advance. And if we were to be remote, that would not be adhere to the requirement.
You don't want people coming to your house for the meeting either.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We can take a motion to, I guess, how do we do this? We can take a motion to make an action item later in the meeting.
So moved. Zuzek.
Thank you.
Second, Dressley.
Okay. Thank you. We'll add that to the end of the action items then. All right, next up we have the items up for individual action. Can I get a motion and a second to adopt the regular board meeting and working session dates as presented for the 2024 calendar year?
I'll make a motion.
All right. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
All right. And any discussion? Vice Chair Dressley?
So currently, we have our meeting dates on the fourth Wednesday and our working session dates on the second Wednesday, and I propose that we move those and vote on the proposed calendar that is in the colors. The reason for this shift is I know Wednesday's been an issue in the past for all of our working sessions and board meetings to be on Wednesdays, so the only variations of it being the second Tuesday and the fourth Wednesday is when there's a conflict, such as evening conferences for the elementary school, spring break, and when there are meeting dates that we are not allowed to have meetings on, would have also shifted these dates.
I'll just make a comment. I am in favor of switching at least some of our meetings away from Wednesdays. It's causing hardships for my family personally, has been for several months now and will for the next year and a half. So I know I would appreciate moving away some of our meetings away from Wednesdays, so I appreciate this proposal. I'll say one more thing. I know, so right now the proposal laid out is working sessions in general on Tuesdays, regular board meetings on Wednesdays, and I think that works well for HCTV, for live streaming and recording and whatnot, so I also see that benefit. Are there any other comments, discussion?
So I didn't motion it. So I'm going to motion to approve the calendar as presented.
Can I get a second?
Second, Milner.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table to essentially update from the established calendar to this revised calendar that's been presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, aye. All right, motion passes with the presented calendar.
Thanks for the legwork on that.
Yes, thank you for putting this together. It's appreciated. All right. The next item for individual action is voting on the official publication of the district. The Hastings Journal is currently designated as the official publication. Can I get a motion and a second to designate the Hastings Journal as the official district publication?
So moved.
All right, Director Bruns, can I get a second?
Second, Pine.
Director Pine, all right. Is there any discussion? All right, with no discussion, could I, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously to designate the Hastings Journal as the official district publication. Next item up for business is to authorize the superintendent or designee to perform the routine functions and responsibilities of the clerk and treasurer. Can I get a motion and a second to do so?
So moved, Dressley.
Can I get a second?
Second, Zuzek.
All right, is there any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously to designate the superintendent or designee to perform the routine functions of clerk and treasurer. All right, the next item up for a vote is to establish 2024 board member compensation. The current board chair receives $4,750 per year, and board directors receive $4,250 per year. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the 2024 board member compensation in the amount of $4,250 and board chair compensation for $4,750? So please note there's no recommended change from 2023.
So moved, Dressley.
Second, Zuzek.
Okay, with a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, the motion passes to approve the 2024 board member and board chair compensation. The next item up for discussion or for action is the designating the official district depositories. Can I get a motion and a second to designate the official district depositories as indicated? They are located in board book and also, they're located in board book for anyone to review this.
So moved, Bruns.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second, Milner.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, with no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. The motion to approve the official district depositories as indicated passes unanimously. The next item up for a vote is to designate the superintendent, director of finance, and their designees to make electronic fund transfers. Could I get a motion and a second to designate the superintendent, director of finance, and their designees to make electronic fund transfers?
Motion by Biermeyer.
Can I get a second?
Second, Zuzek.
All right, second, Zuzek. Is there any discussion? All right, with no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion to designate the superintendent, director of finance, and their designees to make electronic fund transfers passes unanimously. Next item up for business is the authority to sign contracts and enter into agreements. Can I get a motion and a second to delegate authority to the superintendent and director of finance to sign contracts and enter into agreements in accordance with the law?
So moved, Dressley.
Second, Bruns.
All right, is there any discussion? All right, with no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, aye. All right, the motion to delegate authority to the superintendent and director of finance to sign contracts and enter into agreements in accordance with the law passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is the joint powers purchasing agreements. With that, could I get a motion and a second to authorize the delegation of authority to the superintendent and the director of finance to enter into joint powers purchasing agreements?
So move, Milner.
Second, Zuzek.
Any discussion? All right, with no discussion, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. All right, and the motion to authorize the delegation of authority to the superintendent and the director of finance to enter into joint powers purchasing agreements passes unanimously. Next, we have the designation of the identified officials with authority. Can I get a, can I get a motion and a second to identify the official with authority, to identify Superintendent Champa as the identified official with authority and Missy Williams to act as the IOWA, to add and remove names only for Hastings Public School District, and it's 0200-01.
This is Zuzek. I'll make that motion, understanding that this is the least interesting thing that the superintendent does.
Second, Dressley.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say aye. All right, the motion to approve the designation of identified officials with authority for the Minnesota Department of Education's external user access recertification system, as stated, passes. All right, and next on the list is the legal counsel. Can I get, yeah, Superintendent Chamba, could you please fill us in on the information that we have here tonight?
Sure. So currently, we listed our current representation as Knudsen, Flynn, and Deans, Squires, Wellsberger, and Mace, and Ratwick, Rozak, and Maloney. And so what you have in front of you are the legal counsel RFPs. And included in there, you have Squires and Ratwick and Kennedy and Graven. So Kennedy and Graven is not in our current list. Knudsen, Flynn, and Deans typically are used for bond, and we have not utilized their service in the last 3 years. Right now, our general counsel is Squires, Wellsberger and Mace, Ratwick, Rozak, and Maloney are utilized with special ed cases. And like I said, we have not used Knudsen, Flynn, and Deans in the last 3 years. What I've noted, so there's a flag in each of these RFPs that has their fee structure.
With that, can I get a motion and a second to approve the district's legal counsel?
So moved, Bruns.
Second, Pine.
Any discussion? Vice Chair Dressley.
So I know they're looking at the pricing and the, on here, it looks like we pay the most for, yep, Squires, Wellsberg, and Mays, PA, by quite a significant amount. Well, $10 for one of them, but.
$10 an hour.
Yeah, yes.
They just bought theirs by $10 according to the.
Just did.
Yeah.
So they were the same.
And Superintendent Champa, would you further explain what the general counsel exactly does for the district or for the board?
So general counsel, and you have not identified a firm to use as general counsel, but what has been the practice is to use Squires. I would say that our HR has relied heavily on their work, and they have gone through all of our contracts, that type of thing. Otherwise, the school attorneys are the three in the bottom, and like I said, Knutson, Flynn, and Deans is typically with bond work.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion?
So we're not changing horses. There's one new potential person that would get into our Rolodexes, and that we might, not person, but a new law firm that we might consult with if we were to approve this.
I just reached out to the three known ones for our
School law, for
yes.
school law, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The only comment I would make is that when we have a relationship with a law firm and they know our leadership team, they've read our contracts for other consultations, they understand our student handbook, our employee handbook, it does save some time and money because it's quicker for them, and quicker means cheaper when they're billing by 10-minute increments. So I'm happy to see that some of the same horses are in the corral.
Superintendent Champa, if I may, have you worked with Kennedy and, as I know we've worked with obviously Squires and Ratwick before, have you worked with Kennedy and Graven before?
I have not. I am familiar with Meg Wallner, and she's done a lot of presentations, that type of thing. I would be happy to work with them. But I don't have any personal experience.
Any other comments? All right, then I'd like to comment. I am personally not in favor of continuing with Squires, Waltzberger, and Mace. I've stated this in the past. There have been some questions about, I'll say one big question was during the censure, the process and the censure of former Director Reese, their recommendation of the time, place, and manner restrictions that were ultimately placed on him left us open for a pretty significant lawsuit. And I'll leave it at that. The other thing, I also mentioned recently the Elk River School Board situation. I watched that meeting, and they work for that district currently, and I'll just say after watching that meeting and seeing the interaction, I'm not in favor of continuing with this law firm. So I would prefer that the district continue with the Ratwick, Rozak and Maloney, and Kennedy and Graven for legal services. Any other discussion or questions, or Director Pine?
Did the last law firm, the Squires, did they have references? I'm trying to find it in the packet.
No. They make a comment about it that they serve a number in Minnesota and believe that the list was too long to add the list into it. So references, it talks about it on page 9.
Dr. Pine?
Is it a specific attorney there, or have we worked with multiple attorneys at Squires?
John Edison is the attorney that we currently work with.
Any other questions or concerns or statements?
I'm voicing a strong opinion. that if we include Kennedy Graven, that we keep Squires Walsberger in the bullpen for cases that they've participated in the past, and that we don't, that's just a sensible way to manage it, is to take a period of time to move from one law firm to another, because if you cut ties to one law firm, you cut ties to them in things that may be active for us right now, and I'd be deeply concerned about that. And there might be niches of law that our leadership team believe they're very good at, and I'd want them to be available for our leadership team, for our administrative team in that case. So I'd recommend, I have no qualms about including Kennedy Graven. I mean, they're a huge school law firm, and although we haven't worked directly with them, at least two of the attorneys there have worked for Hastings Public Schools, just from my past knowledge. I've worked personally with two of them while in Hastings Public Schools. So I have no problem including a new law firm, but I think it would be unwise to say this company we will never call again. That's not a good practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Zuzek. Any other comments? Director Pine?
Dr. Champa, you said the HR team and yourself have used Squires quite a bit. That's who you rely mainly on?
Right now, yes. And then that would be my follow-up question, just like Mr. Zuzek, depending on how the vote is, because we do have some unfinished business as well.
Vice Chair Dressley?
Well, so more of a point of order, since we had a motion and a second on the table, I guess what I'll do to kind of move it along is I will make a friendly amendment to make Kennedy Graves Charter the primary counsel, or the general counsel.
Okay, I have a friendly amendment.
If Director Bruns accepts that friendly amendment as the person who made the motion in the first place.
I will accept your friendly amendment.
And so we have a motion with a friendly amendment. So the motion is to proceed with Kennedy and Graven as the primary legal counsel, Ratwick, Rozak, and Maloney as the special needs counsel, and Squires, Walsberg, and Mace as a tertiary counsel, especially to wrap up anything that we may have currently ongoing with them. Okay. Can I get, all those in favor, please say aye.
Just
sorry.
for clarity, we're voting presently on the friendly amendment.
Yes.
Thank you. Just want to make sure. Thank you.
Yes. That would, yeah. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay. That passes unanimously. All right. So now we can move on to the next item, correct? Yes. All right. Next item is the district auditors. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the following auditors for ISD 200, Malloy, Montague, Karnowski, Radosevich, and Company PA?
So moved, Dressley.
Biermeyer, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. 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 Motion passes unanimously, and that was for the approval of Malloy, Montague, Karnowski, Radosevich, and Company PA to be the district auditors. All right, the next item on our agenda is facsimile signatures. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the use of facsimile signatures from the board chair, treasurer, and clerk on school district checks?
So moved, Zuzek.
Second, Milner.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. No. Motion passes unanimously to use facsimile signatures for the board chair, treasurer, and clerk on district checks. All right, the next item is the standing committees. Our current standing committees, again, are policy, community engagement, and student school board member. Can I get a motion and a second to approve those standing committees?
So I make a motion to approve the following committees: community collaboration, facilities, finance, policy, and student school board member.
Sorry, could you please repeat that?
Understanding that that's an addition of the Finance Committee, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I agree with Vice Chair Dressley that we would include the Finance Committee as a standing committee. And I would so motion that policy, community engagement, finance, and school board member committees all be standing committees.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I have this clear. We have community collaboration instead of engagement. Is that what I heard?
Which is just a change of the words.
Yep. And then we have finance, policy, student school board member, and I think I heard one more in there. Facilities committee. Okay. And these would all be standalone committees. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, standing committees. Okay, so the motion on the table and the second is for community collaboration, finance, policy, student school board member, and facilities. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously to have standing committees of community collaboration, finance, policy, student school board member, and facilities committees. All right, so that obviously changes what you may think that you may want to do with committee assignments, since we have additional committees. So again, I will ask that board members please send me what you would prefer, which committees you would prefer to be a member of, I'd ask for by tomorrow night, and then I will send back the committee assignments by Friday night. So you can all have time to think about what you would like to contribute to.
Do you also want to talk about how many on each committee?
We can, yes. Actually, that's a good idea. Thank you. Superintendent Champa just said if we can discuss how many people are on each committee. So, policy, we obviously is already established. Currently, we have 3 board members on that committee, along with the Director of Finance and Superintendent Champa, along with,
Administrative assistant.
and the administrative assistant. Oh, sorry, I misspoke. Sorry. Yes, I understand what you're saying now. So we typically have 3 board members, the superintendent and the administrative assistant on that committee. And the purpose is to review and revise current policies and propose policy changes for adoption based on statute at the direction of the school board or administrator, and is identified for the benefit for the students and staff of ISD 200. The other committee that we currently have is the Student School Board Member Committee. And on that one, we've had 3 members. And that one, we have established a process of onboarding for new student school board members, as well as interviewing actually to select those student school board members, and then being mentors for those board members. The process that we had identified, or the process was that they would conduct the interviews, make the recommendations to the board would give feedback, and we would ultimately have 2 juniors and 2 seniors for 1-year terms on that, for those seats. So I guess the question is how many would we like to have going forward? We had 3, but that was because we were basically establishing it and figuring everything out. Vice Chair Dressley?
I was just going to say that it would be, and it wouldn't be an ongoing thing. It would only be when new student school board members, when they were the interviewing process and so forth. So it wouldn't be an all-year committee assignment.
Right, I think that was the meetings would be in the spring, the selection would be in the spring, and then you would serve as mentors to those student board members for the rest of the year. So meetings would be heavily focused in the early part of the calendar year. So is there any input on how many members we think we should have on that committee? I know it was the three of us historically.
I think minimum two. That would be my feeling, because there's four students presumably, so that'd be my opinion.
Okay. 2 board members on that committee. Any other comments? Sound good? Okay, so we'll have 2 board members on the student school board member committee. The next one, or we currently have a community engagement committee, and the recommendation was to change it to community collaboration committee. This one, I had actually suggested that we have at one of our fall meetings here, and it is with the purpose of having our surveys that were just recently done, trying to get more engagement from the community and getting ideas and feedback on how things are going with those top 5 identified issues that we want to tackle, and really trying to get a kind of a community conversation going and getting active feedback with that. And so that was the idea for the committee. I guess, what do folks think for how many board members on that?
Just
Vice Chair Dressler.
Just for clarification, how many members were on that committee previously?
Just one.
It was actually 3. Oh. That's okay. It was 3. Okay, so here's the thing. That committee has evolved over the last 3 years.
Okay.
It started out with a different purpose than what it ended with. This past year, it was focused on the levy. The year before that, I was on it, and it was focused on how do we engage members of the community, big groups of the community, to advocate for different things, for building relationships and partnerships within the community, with the district, and that kind of thing. So it has evolved. It's changed. Technically, there were 3 members 2 years ago, and we were actually meeting this past year. There weren't really meetings, but it was a lot of levy work. So 1 to 3. Any input on how many we want to have on that committee?
I think 2 is a good number.
2?
I think 2 would work.
Okay. 2 board members for the community collaboration. And then the final committee is the facilities committee. Oh, sorry, finance and facilities. So we have finance first. We did not have a finance committee this past year, but the year before we did. That one we met, I want to say, maybe 6 times a year. And it was primarily focused around the budget and budget adjustments and development of that, and anything else finance related, really, if questions came up. And we had 2 board members were on the finance committee, with the treasurer, Director Zuzik, being the chair of that committee. So, okay. So that we'll have Director Zuzik will be on that committee for sure. And then I think probably 1 more, unless folks have other opinions. Okay, 2 board members on the finance committee. And then finally, the facilities committee. And there was a facilities committee previously that was responsible for identifying and doing kind of long-term facilities maintenance planning, big type projects. And we haven't had that for at least 2 years. I don't know when the last time was that there was a facilities committee, but that was primarily identifying the bond projects on that lengthy list. So again, do we want to stick with the 2 board members being on the facilities committee? Seeing nodding in agreement. Oh, Vice Chair Dressley?
I would agree with that, and I would also make the suggestion that the facilities doesn't meet monthly, maybe quarterly.
Sure. Quarterly meetings? Okay. And I think once we've identified the members of each committee, I would recommend that the committees schedule their meetings, and you need to be aware that you have to abide by the open meeting laws and get those coordinated with the administrative assistant to make sure that they're posted properly and everything. And then would ask that the committee develop their own purpose statement and develop your own meeting schedule and whatnot. And then the intent would be, as always, the committee chair reports back to the board with what happened during your committee meetings and any recommendations you have to bring to the board. Okay. Any other discussion or comments on committees? Okay, moving on. The next thing on our list is to establish time, place, and manner of public comments. Currently, according to policy 206, the school board listens to public comment starting at 5:45 p.m. before the regular meetings. Those comments are not televised or recorded, and so now I can take a motion and a second for how we want to proceed going forward regarding the time, place, and manner for public comments.
Okay, so I will make a motion to approve the time, place, and manner of public comments as followed. For public comments to take place during all regular board meetings following the recognition of visitors, the location remaining the same, the middle school, the media center in the middle school, and pending favorable feedback from other entities that we have to check in with to stream and record. Upon receiving negative feedback, we would revert back to our previous practice until we were able to have a discussion as a board about it again.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I have this clear first. Okay, so the public comments would be during all regular board meetings following the recognition of visitors, but this is pending any follow-ups that have to be done, for example, with HCTV.
I'm sorry, I should have clarified. The recording and streaming of the public comments is pending.
Okay. So during the meetings, potentially recorded and streamed, depending on what comes back from HCTV. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that is the motion on the table. Can I get a second?
Second by Biermeyer.
Okay, any discussion?
Does that, Madam Chair, does that mean that it's live?
That would be a discussion after we receive feedback from, we need to check in with HCTV and the district's legal counsel.
Yeah, the problem with live comments are that if a person were to make a comment at a board meeting that would be illegal in regard to defamation of character or any private data, there's no gavel quick enough to stop that comment. You can't take words out of people's mouths after they've said them, and I'm suggesting that is a major liability that we would be opening up on behalf of the district.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Hence the check-in with legal, I assume. That's okay. Okay, thank you for the comment. Any other comments? Director Milner?
I assume this is another thing, what you mean by checking in by HCTV. Like if someone starts to say something that would fall in that category, can HCTV cut the feed at that time so that the full thought isn't out? And my second thought is I did speak at the last meeting we were allowed to speak at, and there was very clear what was allowed and what wasn't allowed. There was a document you had to sign and turn in. I mean, it's pretty clear what you're allowed to say and not say if we do open it up during public time.
Thank you. Any other comments? Director Pine.
Is there just going to be a time, like if there's 30 people in the room, are we going to let them speak for 5, 10, 15 minutes apiece, or are we going to cap the amount of time and then obviously table it if we have to follow up further?
So per policy 206, speakers are limited to 3 minutes apiece. So that is currently in policy, and our current policy also states a maximum of 5 speakers per board meeting. Which, of course, I mean.
Pardon, Madam Chair. Additionally, in current policy, they need to register the day prior.
Correct. Yes, you can't just show up and speak unannounced. So you have to go through the process to actually sign up, and so that we're alerted and know that someone is going to be addressing the board and whatnot. So that also is in current policy. So that wouldn't change. It's just moving it from 5:45 p.m. before the meeting, not recorded, not televised, to during the meeting after the recognition of visitors portion. Stick with the 3 minutes, maximum of 5 speakers after checking in with legal and HCTV. Director Biermeyer.
I like the during meeting setting. I believe we need to be a little more transparent again, and that's, I think, pretty important step in doing that.
Any other comments from board members? Then I'll say, okay, go ahead.
I would just request that this be a conversation during the January 10th board working session if there's feedback received by then.
So we'd check in with HCTV and legal, and if there's anything that they say we shouldn't be doing this, then we discuss it further on January 10th. I'd also, I know several board members across the state, and there are many boards who still have their public comment during the meeting, and it's televised and recorded and all of that. And I'm happy to reach out to some of them and ask what challenges they've had along these lines and what they do to prepare for if something goes awry. Okay. So we have a motion and a second, contingent upon feedback from legal and HCTV. Any further comment? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously to move, now I gotta try to say this again, to move public comment to be during all regular board meetings after the recognition of visitors, pending feedback from HCDV and legal.
Awesome.
Passes. All right. Okay. The next thing we are doing is appointing a liaison to District 917. And as we went through earlier, can I get a motion to appoint Director Zuzek to be the representative at District 917?
So move Milner.
Can I get a second?
Second, Pine.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously to have Director Zuzek as the ISD 917 representative. Next is the Minnesota State High School League appointment. Earlier in the evening, Director Pine stated that she was interested, so can I get a motion and a second to appoint Director Pine as the Minnesota State High School League representative?
Motion Zuzek.
A second runs.
You gotta be faster, Phil. All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye. 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 All right, motion passes unanimously to appoint Director Pine as the Minnesota State High School League representative. And then can I get a motion and a second to appoint Director Bruns as the liaison to AMSD?
So move Milner.
Second, Biermeyer.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. And then, can I get a motion and a second to appoint Director Dresley to be the Brightworks liaison?
Motion, Zuzek.
Second, Milner.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously for Director Dresley to be the Brightworks liaison. Should there be a position needed?
Before you move on, the resolution should go to the clerk. It's in that pile.
Oh, yes. All right. Next up, we have a combined polling places resolution. And this, I have a copy of this for our new clerk, who will be responsible for taking a roll call vote this evening.
Do I have to read it or move to?
So I will make a motion to approve the combined polling places resolution with the reading waived. Can
I get a second?
Second, Pine.
All right. Any discussion? Okay, so what this is combining polling places should the district need to have an election in 2024 that does not fall on the regular statewide election. So if we have to have some unexpected election this year, we would have combined polling places. We actually just voted on this, was it last month? It was last month we voted on this. However, Minnesota School Boards Association recommends that this be done at the January organizational meeting because it's an annual thing. And I think there was some discussion of looking into changing our combined polling places, because currently when there's a general statewide election, there's 20-something polling places, and we go down to 6 when we have a combined polling places. This saves the district considerable amount of money, and it's just more difficult to operate the polling locations when it's just for a district election. I have stated that I have some concerns with the 6 locations where they are, because they're all in town. I would like us to review that and possibly look at maybe one in Denmark Township, when maybe a couple south of town, instead of having people having to drive 30 minutes round trip to vote, have something more convenient. However, because there is no election planned for this year, I'm comfortable with moving forward with the established 6, and then we'll have this conversation later. All right. Anyone else? Any feedback? Discussion? Okay. With that, Director Milner, I will ask you to take a roll call vote.
Director Pine.
Yes.
Director Zuzek.
Yes.
Director Dresley.
Yes.
Chair Tate.
Yes.
Director Bruns.
Yes.
Director Milner, yes. Director Biermeier.
Yes.
Thank you, and well done. Thanks. All right. The next thing on our agenda is future meetings. So with that, we have a new future meeting schedule that was just approved. So January 10th, we have a working session at 6 p.m. And at that point, we are planning to discuss the board member handbook, board member in-district liaison positions, any that we would like to have, the legislative agenda, a board member retreat plan, board evaluation schedule and plan, and any policies or procedures needing to be discussed, including policy 215 and 215.1 PR. On January 24th, 2024 at 6 p.m., we have our regular board meeting. And beyond that, the next working session will be February 13th. And with the regular board meeting being February 21st, if I'm reading this correctly. Yes.
And then there's the retreat on the 14th.
Okay, and then there's and then there's, we have, and And the 10th as well, right? We have two board member retreats coming, and that's January 10th from 4 to 6 and February 14th also from 4 to 6 p.m. And lunch. And then March 6th, we have a third board retreat. All right, and that is the near-term future meetings, and obviously I assume that this new schedule will be up on Board Book in the near future. All right.
Madam Chair, may I add one more likely commitment on the part of all of us that we will attend the American Indian social at the Tilden Education Center. I believe it's the 7th.
It is.
And it's at 5 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
For as many of us as can get there. Thank you.
Thank you. The other thing that we have coming up, of course, next week, all 7 board members are going to the Minnesota School Boards Association annual conference. So we'll all be up in Minneapolis. All right. And with that, I would like a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Anyone?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, motion I'm sorry. All those in favor, say aye. Ready to get out of here. All right, motion passes to adjourn. Meeting is adjourned at 7:10 p.m.
Thank you. Well done.